Welcome back, everyone. This music is to wake you up in case you had a hard lunch. So please take your seats. We will start soon. After the general introduction to transnational cooperation, to the program, the panel discussion with differences and interlinks with the strategy, we go to the projects, the calls. The Danube Transnational Program is nothing without projects. So this is a very important part of the event today, because as you may know, and I already announced it to you this morning, the first call for proposal was launched today. So from today you have all the documents, all the forms to be submitted through the website. In our website, you have the domain of the website in your folders, and the expression of interest can be submitted until 3rd of November through the website for the first step, and then there will be a second step. My colleagues from the Joint Secretariat will explain now the opportunities of cooperation in different specific objectives, and they will give you all the details about the first call for proposals. You will have time after the 4 presentations to ask questions. Please be very short and quick. Like this, we can give the floor to as many people in the audience as possible. And like this, you can clarify many issues related to the first call in case you are interested to submit a proposal. So I would like to give the floor again to the head of the Joint Secretariat, Alessandra Pala. She will introduce you some types of cooperation and opportunities of projects within the first call.
How does it work? Yeah. Can we have the first presentation, please? Okay. Thank you. It's me again. What I'm going to discuss and talk to you today is a quite general overview of the 4 priorities, mainly the 10 specific objectives that the Danube Transnational Program is covering. I'm going to have a very, very fast also overview about the result-oriented approach we heard about in the morning, that this is basically part of the new programming period. The intervention logic, because all the projects have to have their own intervention logic. I will briefly go through it, and also you have to understand that this is only a brief introduction, but tomorrow we're going to have specific workshops where the information that will be displayed today will be discussed in depth. And after that, we're going to talk also about the indicators, result and output indicators, as a very important part of the intervention logic. Can I have support from the... Okay. So before going there, I would like also to give you numbers. Numbers starting from the small one, reaching a quite bigger number. First of all, number 3, because we have 3 funds. We have the RDF, we have the IPA, and soon we will have also the ENI. We will have 4 priorities and 10 specific objectives. Also means that we have 10 results linked to those 10 specific objectives. We also have 31 output indicators, out of which whenever you are presenting a proposal, you have to try to do your best to comply with. And we are providing you 85% of co-financing for ERDF or for IPA, which means that 15% will be provided by you. As it was said today, we have slightly less than 20 million euros of IPA available for the program and 202 million euros of ERDF, which makes, together with the 15% of national co-financing, 262.9 million euros. Now, this is seems a big amount of money, as we were saying this morning, but if we divide this by 115 million people living in the Danube area, we end up basically, or you end up spending 2.29 euros for this program, more or less the price of a good coffee, let's say. But what we are showing today is that what we are going to do with this amount of money. So first of all, let's see how we are going to divide the money according to the different priorities, according to the different specific objectives. Priority 1 will receive 72 million euros, while priority 2, which is actually the biggest also priority, which includes 4 specific objectives, is receiving 83 million euros. Priority 3, 54, and priority 4, 33 million euros. In specifically, because as you know, these are priorities, but we are also allocating funds to the specific objectives. And this will give you an idea what are the expectations also on the program side. So for instance, in priority 1, both specific objectives are going to receive 36 million euros each. It's quite a substantial support. In the case of priority 2, as I said, there are 4 specific objectives. So in specific objective 2.1, 2.3, and 2.4, they're all receiving 14 million euros, while specific objective 2.2, as you can see, has the highest amount in the whole range of specific objectives, with 39 million euros. In the priority 3, we have the transport part, which is covering 36 million euros, while the energy part will be 18. And then we have the priority 4, with the 4.1 getting 15 million euros, and then the 4.2, which is a special specific objective, more directly to the support to the strategy, is receiving 18 million euros. But going ahead with the specific objectives, I'm saying that I will go very briefly to it, as more information will be provided to you tomorrow. The specific objective 1.1, improve framework conditions for innovation, looks to bring forward ideas that need an environmental-friendly environment an innovation-friendly environment to grow and to become products or services that will benefit us and also benefit the economies. Specific objective 1.2, increase competencies for business and social innovation, aims at supporting the development and implementation of new ideas meant to enhance individuals' capacity to act, meet social needs, and advance new community-led relationships or collaborations. Then, in case of priority 2, environment and culture responsible Danube region, we have the specific objective 2.1, strengthen transnational water management and flood risk prevention, which aims to further protecting and enhancing the status of waters and to ensure the sustainable and long-term use of water sources. In this case, what it is expected from transnational actions is to tackle the poor governance and knowledge gaps in the development of integrated water management and flood protection plans. So, in specific objective 2.2, foster sustainable use of natural and cultural heritage and resources. A strong emphasis here is given to the creation of a Danube region brand by advancing sustainable tourism, for instance, through improving the management of the sites, both in terms of preservation and sustainable methods of exploitation. On the other side, the specific objective addresses also the multiculturalism of the region and advances its exploitation to boost the creative industries and cultural creativity. Specific objective 2.3, foster the restoration and management of ecological corridors, focus on the bio-corridors with transnational relevance, habitat conditions along the Danube River and its tributaries, and other key green infrastructures. And the support should target protected areas and the relevant closed areas in the whole Danube region. In this case, the program will support actions that can contribute to improved interlinking of natural habitats, which are of great importance for the sustainable and functional ecological networks. The last specific objective of priority 2 is the 2.4, improve preparedness for environmental risk management. And this is targeting environmental risk management policies and strategies related to risks that are caused by non-functioning ecosystems and man-made actions, and other risk factors which are endangering the human and the natural habitats. While when we talk, for instance, about risk prevention, we are not covering in this specific objective. We are mainly covering risk prevention, mainly flood risk prevention, in the specific objective 2.1 or in some cases in 2.3. The cooperation across the region should deal with transnational spillover effects, in particular in relation to flood protection exactly, forest fires, drought, and water scarcity, and other man-made risks which have quite a strong impact in the region. So mutual capacity building and knowledge transfer in this case should be the guiding principle of this specific objective. Priority 3, better connected and energy responsible Danube region. As I said earlier, they have two specific objectives. The 3.1 is support environmentally friendly and safe transport system and balanced accessibility of urban and rural areas, aims at leveling disparities in the Danube region with regard to transport policies, reduction of pollution from transport activities, and connectivity of remote areas. And in this case, a strong emphasis is given to modal distribution, a shift towards waterways as a more cost-effective and environmentally friendly means of transport. In this case, we believe it's an adequate tool to address issues like transport quality, safety, efficiency, organization and coordinations with other sectors as well. The specific objective 3.2, improve energy security and energy efficiency, targets integrated approach with a view to ensure energy efficiency and energy security in the Danube region. Use and further exploitation on available renewable energy sources can contribute to achieve these goals. And it also offers the means by which the current potential in the energy sector can be turned into innovative solutions for energy storage and distribution, while also ensuring the necessary energy supply in the region. Specific objective 4.1 addresses instead, it's part of the fourth priority, governance bottlenecks in the Danube region and the lack of public institutions' capacity to tackle major societal challenges. This can be a very effective instrument to overcome these bottlenecks, developing new models of cooperation, empowering public institutions to approach challenges which affect entire societies in a more structured and proactive manner to manage also these challenges before they become uncontrollable problems. And then we have the last but not least specific objective. This is a quite peculiar one, and it is addressed directly to the Danube strategy. Here we have three main, let's say, directions and support. We are supporting the priority area coordinators with a direct financial support. In the same way, we will be supporting also the Danube strategy point. And then we are foreseeing an indirect type of support to the strategy with the seed money facility. So preparation projects which could be eventually prepared for being submitted to other funding instruments. Changing the subject towards result-oriented approach. We heard quite something from the Commission today in relation to this subject. So why are we having this approach in this new programming period? Is that we are trying to go from actions and financial means to result in order to shape the program objectives towards the results we are planning to reach. And the challenge of this approach is to capture the envisaged change in the cooperation area. And the focus given to the results is forcing to relate, in this case, the interventions, so your projects, to the planned program results as well. How are we doing this? We are doing by linking the project intervention logic to the program intervention logic. And from the program side, we are checking this with a program performance framework, which are also linking this to the project results, which are project outputs, actually, which are feeding our results. This is from the side of the program, but from the side of the project, the result-oriented approach in practical terms means that the project objectives have to clearly target one single program-specific objective within the chosen priority axis. The contribution to the project to the respective program result, and obviously to the indicator, has to be clearly demonstrated. And the activities and outputs have to be logically linked to the targeted specific objective. And this will bring us to the intervention logic. I don't know how clear this could be for you, but what we are aiming here is basically to link the project overall objective to the program specific objective. In this way, you have to contribute to the project result. Your project result will have to contribute to the program result, and your project main output will have to directly contribute to the program main output. In fact, we are aggregating your outputs together. You are basically forming our target. How to build it? First of all, you have to define the overall objective of your project and your result, the result that you want to reach, and you have to link them with the program intervention logic. So you have to go back to the specific objective and to the result of that specific objective. You have to define your own specific objectives and define also the project main outputs, which must be linked to the program output indicators. There won't be the possibility to have your own project outputs without being linked to the program output indicators. And after that, you have to develop a work plan which is feasible to reach these results and these objectives. So we talked about indicators, which we believe they are a quite strong element of the intervention logic. The result indicators, according to the definition, are variables that provide information on some specific aspects of results that lend themselves to be measured. So they are indicating the change that the program is aiming at, and they have to, from the program side, refer to the overall program beneficiaries. That's why we are not expecting that your result is directly linked to our program, and we are actually going to measure our result indicators separately from the projects. But what you have to do in this case is that all of your projects have to be indirectly, they have to indirectly contribute to the selected indicator. All the indicators have something in common. So they are all measuring the intensity of cooperation of relevant key stakeholders and actors in the program area. Obviously, these key stakeholders might change according to the different specific objective. So what you have to do in this case, in your expression of interest and later application form, is to explain how this is, how you are contributing to this indicator. Output indicators are quite different from this point of view because we are expecting you to contribute directly to them. We are counting them and we are aggregating, and at the end of the day, the value of all the projects is going to be our target. So output indicators, according to the definition, are direct products of programs or projects in this case, and they are intended to contribute to the results. They are aimed at allowing an aggregation of outputs in program level and monitoring of the program achievements. In 2018, we will be, with a performance framework, we will monitor our achievements and our milestones, and a great deal will be given by the output indicators. So they are based also on the mission of the program and the main actions that are going to be financed. Specifically, all specific objectives have one, let's say, similar output indicator to which each project is somehow obliged to contribute to. It's a horizontal output indicator, and it's the number of documented learning interactions. So all the specific objectives must contribute to this output indicator. What are documented learning interactions? We defined as a process of acquiring institutional knowledge in the transnational context through joint testing, piloting, or any other type of demonstration activities related to newly developed, transferred, or adapted services, products, structures, processes, or strategic documents. Maybe an example will serve the scope for you to understand. So, for instance, if a project has a development of an action plan for the implementation of a strategy, and the activity implies also, among others, the training of the target groups in implementing the action plan, then this training is your documented learning interaction, and it has to be considered as one output in your project. We also have a typology for the main project outputs. So all the project outputs are strategy, tools, pilot actions. There are some differences because, for instance, priority 1 has additional 2 common output indicators, and obviously priority 4 in the support of the strategy has different output indicators, but let's say that the overall framework of all the other specific objectives are following the same direction. So what is a strategy? A strategy has a starting point, a definition of joint problems and challenges of the countries that they want to address. It needs to set up clear mid- and long-term objectives and priorities, reflecting also the common vision of the Danube regions in the specific field. It has to involve the relevant stakeholders, and it should aim at policy integration in the Danube area in the selected field and act as a policy driver at transnational level. An example will be a development of a transnational strategy in the field of innovation networks. In this case, assumingly that each partner will deliver a country report, and this will be the first step to develop a strategy. These country reports could be considered the deliverables or intermediate steps, while the strategy itself will be the output. Tools. I think we all know what tools are. They are means for achieving a specific task. They have to be jointly developed at transnational level. They have to be innovative. They can be tangible or intangible. They could be analytical, management, technical, etc. And it could also mean a joint development of a new or a further improvement of an existing or adapting an existing tool. An example of this could be the development of a database, a financing scheme, an ITC tool, or an improvement of a monitoring tool. All these being part of a project, let's say, are tools to be counted as 4 when you are putting the value of your output. And then we have pilot actions. Pilot actions are the practical implementation of newly developed solutions. It has an experimental nature, which aims at testing, evaluating, or demonstrating the feasibility and effectiveness of a scheme. It covers either the testing of innovative solutions or demonstrating the application of existing solutions to a certain territory, which was never done before, even though it has to provide an added value for that. And the resultant practices of pilot actions should be exploited on and transferred to other institutions and territories. An example of this would be, for instance, a pilot implementation of an innovative management model for 6 protected areas and the pilot testing of a new service developed by the project in 3 countries. Just to make the example on how to count this in your project, all the aboves are obviously there examples of pilots, but in this case you count as a value 2, because in this case you are having 2 different pilots even though you are let's say, testing them in different areas. This is it from my side. As I said, this is quite a general overview that I provided you. Tomorrow you will have more information about each specific objective. In case you are particularly interested, you have the possibility to visit 2. And more information also about the intervention logic, about how to actually set up an intervention logic according to the specific objective you want to address as well will be described tomorrow in the workshops. I would like to give now the floor to my colleague, Simona Ene. She will go through the intervention, the first call. So all the information about the first call will be provided to you by the colleague. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. As Alessandra said, I am Simona Ene. I'm a program manager inside the Secretariat. I will present you the first call for proposal, the rules of the call, and in case you have questions, please feel free to ask at the end of all the presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. Which is the button? Oh. It's green. The pink. This one. Ah, the pink. I'm sorry. It's, yeah. So as you all know, today was launched the first call for proposal. It follows a two-step procedure. In the first step, applicants have to submit an expression of interest, which represents a short version of the application form. The deadline for submission will be 3rd of November 2015 at 15 hours Central European time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The projects are invited to, in the second step, will have to develop a full application pack, which consists of an application form that will have to be submitted most probably in April-May next year. In order to launch the call, we had quite a tough work and a complex process. We start the preparation by defining the main elements of the call and main eligibility criteria. Then we have finally opened the call today. In the first step, as I said before, it will be the submission of the expression of interest, the assessment of the expression of interest, and then the preselection and invitation of the projects. In the second step, the submission of the application form, assessment of the application form, and selection of the projects, which we envisage to take place a little bit after mid next year. In this context, the content of my presentation will comprise of some information about the allocated budget and the co-financing rates, the application procedure, the application opportunities, the partnership requirements, and who are the eligible partners who can apply. And also at the end, I will give you some further information about the assessment and the procedure for assessment and the criteria that projects have to fulfill in order to be considered successful. First of all, the allocation of funds and the co-financing rates. I will start by saying that we have no budget restriction at project level, meaning that we will not ask that the project has a minimum of 200,000 or a maximum of a certain number. Of course, the budget has to be justified by the type of the activities, by the number of partners involved, and by the complexity of the project itself. It was the decision of the monitoring committee to allocate in this first call for proposal up to 76 million euro of ERDF and 7.5 million euro IPA. The maximum contribution for the projects is 85%, which is the ERDF or IPA amount, which means that the 15% will have to be covered by the national co-financing. Because it was in the morning a question about the national co-financing, I will give you a more practical example to understand better. These projects are functioning, and this program is functioning based on the reimbursement principle, which means that a project has to spend and make a request for reimbursement to the Joint Secretariat, which will be on a 6-month basis most probably. When requesting the funds, after the approval of the request for the reimbursement, the Secretariat will reimburse 85% of the total amount requested, which means that 50% will be the contribution of the partner. This contribution can be covered by state contribution. In case of countries are granting from the state budget this co-financing, or it can be covered by the partner itself or other types of sources that the partner might have. The first call for proposal will be open for all priority axes except for specific objective 4.2, which is a specific which has a specific nature and will follow most probably different procedure. Therefore, applicants are free to submit projects in priority 1, innovative and socially responsible Danube region, in priority 2, environment and culturally responsible Danube region, priority 3, better connected and energy responsible Danube region, and priority 4, well-governed Danube region, but only for specific objective 4.1, improve institutional capacity to tackle major societal challenges. The partnership requirements for this call. The minimum number of partners requested by the program, which represents an eligibility criteria, it's 3, from 3 different countries of the program area, out of which at least 1 comes from a member state. Usually and always, the lead partner is mandatory to come from a member state because he receives both ERDF and IPA funds. Therefore, attention should be given to the fact that the lead partner can only be chosen from among the ERDF partners and cannot be changed between the 2 steps of the call. Of course, the number of partners may vary considerably from one project to the other, and the partnership should be built in a strategic way in order to be able to carry out the activities of the project. Therefore, we are always advising that the number of partners should reflect the necessities of the project and should be built in a strategic way, meaning to have a combination of decision-making level and practical implementation research activities and so on. The eligible partners in the first call, you will see that compared to the previous programming period, we have opened the possibilities for applicants. We have eligible local, regional, national public bodies and bodies governed by public law, including EGTCs, international organizations, and private bodies, including private enterprises having legal personality. The definition of a body governed by public law already is quite known. They have to be established for general purpose of for fulfilling the general interest, not having an industrial and commercial character, not being relevant for the industrial and commercial character. They have legal personality, and they are financed parts or for most of the part by the state, regional or local authorities or by any other body governed by public law. They are subject to the management of or supervision of these authorities, or they have an administrative, managerial or supervisory board. More than a half of those members are appointed by the state, regional or local authorities or by other bodies governed by public law. In any case, if you have doubts regarding the legal status of your organization, it's always good to contact the national contact points who can help you identify which category you definitely are in. International organizations, in this case, they are eligible if they are governed by the national law of any Danube transnational program partner state, or if they are governed by international law, provided that for the purpose of the project, they fulfill the EU program and national rules in terms of control, validation, and audits, and this type of organization can be considered also eligible. In the second case, in case of international organizations governed by international law, this will be demonstrated in the project by self-declaration. Private bodies, in the sense of the program, we are considering private bodies in this category profit and non-profit organizations. They are all organizations which are funded by private law, such as, but depends on each country, chambers of commerce, trade unions, non-NGOs, private enterprises, or any type of profit-making body, including SMEs. The distinction at program level between private non-profit-making bodies and private profit-making bodies, private enterprises, is that private enterprises cannot participate as lead partner in project, at least in the first call for proposal. Therefore, we will start with private non-profit bodies, which can act as lead partner. In case they are lead partner, they have to fulfill the following criteria. This criteria, again, will be demonstrated with a self-declaration, only requested in the second step. That they have to demonstrate that they have no debts to the state budget, that no liquidation or bankruptcy procedure has been initiated against them, they are financially autonomous, and they are solvent, which means that they can cover medium and long-term commitments. Private enterprises cannot be lead partner in projects, and private enterprises coming from non-EU countries of the program area are not eligible to participate in Danube projects. This means that private enterprises coming from Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro cannot participate, are not considered eligible for the program. Attention here should be given to the fact that private bodies that have in the main scope of whose main scope of activities within their business profile, as well as as their project role, consist of project management, communication, financial monitoring, or other activities that are of supportive nature for the project, can be subcontracted by the partner and should not be involved as project partners. This will not be considered, a project will not be considered will not be failed because of this. However, a partner can be excluded from the project because of not fulfilling this condition. The geographic eligibility rules, as it was mentioned also in the morning, the program area covers 14 countries, 9 member states and 5 non-member states. At program level, we have defined 2 types of partners. Partners who are directly financed by the program, and here we are talking about the ERDF, the IPA partners, and the lead partner, and partners who are indirectly financed by the program, and here we are referring to these associated strategic partners. In their case, they are the ones who are not receiving directly funds from the program, therefore they are not participating in the project with a budget, but they are supported by a sponsoring partner, which is an ERDF partner. And only travel and accommodation costs are eligible for the program in their case. As an example, we can say as E&I funds are not available for the first call, Moldova, partners coming from Republic of Moldova and Ukraine can be involved in projects as associated strategic partner, meaning that an ERDF partner can have in their budget expenses for travel and accommodation of the partners coming from these 2 countries. This is just a short example. Of course, associated strategic partners can come also from the program area or from EU countries outside the program area, as Belgium, UK, or whatever country, if it is relevant and demonstrated its relevance for the project. The maximum duration of projects for the first call is set to 30 months, which means that this implies only the implementation of project activities. A few words about the application and the assessment of the first step of the call. As I said before, the deadline for submitting the expression of interest is 3rd November 2015. The expression of interest have to be submitted through the website of the program and only electronically. The assessment complies of an eligibility assessment and the quality assessment of the project. The eligibility check contains 7 questions. The first ones are the standard questions: if the expression of interest has been submitted within the deadline, if it is through the official website of the program, if it is compiled in English, which is the language of the program, if the partnership fulfills the minimum criteria requested by the program, meaning that it comprises 3 partners from 3 different partner states, out of which at least 1 is located in a member state, if the lead partner is an eligible beneficiary, if the project contributes to the program objective, mission, and the program priorities, and if the proposal contributes to at least 2 of program output indicators. The quality assessment comprises of 2 steps: the assessment of the strategic assessment of the strategic relevance of the project, which this is a knockout criteria, meaning that project not reaching 60% score will not proceed to the operational assessment, which is the next step. The reason for introducing this knockout criteria is because we are searching for strategic result-oriented projects that can have an impact in the area. In the strategic assessment of the strategic relevance, we have a set of questions, and of course in the applicant's manual that are much more detailed and much more information is provided. First of all, we are assessing if the territorial needs and challenges are identified, and here we are focusing on the relevance of these territorial needs and challenges for the program selected objective, if they are described in a coherent manner, and if they are addressed by the activities of the project. We are assessing the coherence of the intervention logic, And in this respect, we are assessing if the intervention logic is coherent, of the project is coherent to the intervention logic of the program. Tomorrow during the workshop, we will explain more in details about all this, how to build up successful intervention logic and a clear intervention logic. We are assessing to which extent the proposal contributes to an EU strategy and policy, and here the program, together with the priority area coordinators, have identified 2 questions that are assessing the contribution of the program to the EU strategy for the Danube region and to the targets and the actions of the action plan. Furthermore, we are assessing if the partnership composition is relevant, justified and balanced for the proposed project, if the need for the transnational cooperation is demonstrated, and if the target groups are defined and the target groups have the ownership of the project results, and they can further use them after the project end. Projects that are passing the strategic relevance are going to be analyzed from an operational point of view. Here there are only 2 questions in the first step, since the information in the expression of interest is much more limited than in a full application form. We are assessing if the work plan is realistic, consistent and coherent, and if the project budget demonstrates value for money, based on the information provided by the work packages and the involvement of the partners. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I have to invite to present the eligibility of expenditure my colleague Nico Finca, who will give you much more details about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona, for this wonderful presentation. It contained a lot of important information, I think, for people who are here in the audience. Now the topic is going to shift a bit from the project management side to the financial management side of the program. So financial management is important. It was always important within the EU context, and financial rules somehow are also have an important part of the implementation of the program. So the topic of my presentation is going to be financial management, with actually specific focus on the eligibility of expenditure requirements. Why is this maybe important at this stage? It's important in 2 ways. It's important because when you're designing a project, you also have to submit a budget, and this budget is based on certain categories of expenditure. So it's part of the creation of the project. And of course, later during the implementation phase, when you're reporting these costs. So to start, let me just, so the topic is financial, here we go. So the focus is on the eligibility of expenditure within the program. So these are, in brief, the topics that I will be covering during today's presentation. So the topics are hierarchy of rules, general eligibility rules, eligibility of expenditure by budget line, special eligibility rules, and further on, procurement procedures, and I'm briefly going to touch on state aid rules, use of euro, and the revenues, basically, that might be generated during the project, or after the project end. So to start with the hierarchy of rules, within the EU program project management environment, there are 3 levels of rules that are important in this aspect. So we have the EU level rules. Basically, they are the highest level rules. It's in the regulation and let's say delegated acts that are adopted at the Council, Commission, or the Parliament level, or if it's like a different kind of procedure, you know. So we have the highest level, which is the EU regulation. After that, we have program level rules. It means rules that are set by the program, by the countries that are participating in the program, and that are, in this case, stated in the applicant's manual. So what I'm talking about today is also stated in the applicant's manual. It's very important to go through the applicant's manual, through these requirements, because it contains a lot of important information on on the topic of eligibility. And finally, we have national, including specific institutional rules. These are the rules that are set at the national level by a particular country of the program or by a particular institution that's, let's say, a project partner within the project. So, one thing to point out regarding the hierarchy of rules is the eligibility rules laid down in the applicant's manual cannot be overruled by national or institutional legislation. So it is with this program period, program level rules take second place after the EU regulations, let's say. So the program, what is stated in the program rules cannot be changed by the institution or by country. Of course, sometimes in the program, in the applicant's manual, it is stated the flexibility where national rules can be applied. So if it's not sometimes the program, the applicant's manual gives you possibilities and different options for the implementation, in which case national rules are also important. Yes. General eligibility rules. This is somehow stated at the beginning of the applicant's manual regarding in the financial management part. This is something that has to be respected in a sense if expenditure want to be reported, and in this case when budgets are prepared, this is something that you have to take into account when making the decision, when making the budget. First of all expenditures are related to the initiation and implementation of the project as approved by the monitoring committee and essential for the achievement of the agreed project activities. So initiation and implementation of the project. Secondly, all expenditures must comply with the principle of efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. Secondly, efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. All expenditures must comply with the principle of real costs. Real costs means incurred and paid by the partner, with the exception of the costs calculated as flat rates and lump sums. I'm going to further talk a bit about flat rates and lump sums as part of the simplification efforts that are done by the program. All expenditures are incurred and paid by the project partner indicated in the application form during the eligibility period of the project. So there is a certain timeline where this expenditure can be made, and then they can be reported. So, all expenditure-related activities that have not been financed from other financial instruments, no double financing. So it was financed from another source, it shouldn't be financed again by the program. All expenditures are supported by invoices or other documents with probative value directly attributable to a certain project partner, with the exception of the sums calculated as flat rates and lump sums. So documentation is important, and it has always been important within the EU program and project management context. Here again, flat rates and lump sums, I will later say a bit more when we come to the eligibility of expenditure by specific budget line. All expenditures are in line with the eligibility rules on EU, program and national level. So we have these three levels, and these rules have to be respected by the project partners. Ineligible expenditure, some things will not be financed by the program. Project partners may incur this expenditure, but they cannot budget them. They shouldn't include them in their budget or something they're going to do, or shouldn't actually consider later reporting. So this is a list of all these ineligible expenditure. So fines, costs of gifts, unless it's under 50 euros per gift, costs related to fluctuation of foreign exchange rate, interest of debt. So this is the list. The list is in the applicant's manual, and you see here on the slide the full list of the ineligible expenditure. So once again, I emphasize the importance of reading the applicant's manual and going through the section in detail. Again, second-hand equipment won't be financed. There won't be any sharing of common costs between the partners, so contributions in kind are not eligible. Value-added tax, unless it cannot be recoverable. Purchase of land and existing buildings. So these are things that the program will not be financing. Eligibility in time, I was mentioning before in the general eligibility rules that it has to be incurred within the eligible project period. So let's talk a bit about this eligible project period. Eligible, it shall be incurred and paid with the project period defined by the starting date and end date of the project. So basically if your project gets approved, the starting and end date will be also defined. So at that time, you know when the start date of the project is and when the end date of the project is. So expenditures have to be incurred within this period. However, there are exceptions to this rule. Preparation costs. Preparation costs in the sense that these are costs that are incurred or were supposed to be incurred prior to the project start. At this point, we are introducing lump sum for preparation costs, whose amount is still not decided, but in general, I would advise looking at the documents and then seeing when the change occurs. It will be important for the second step. So in the first step of the procedure, it is not necessary to indicate this amount in the budget, but I would advise that you read the document that you, in some time, we're going to update the documents and you're going to see the requirements regarding the preparation costs, especially for the second phase and the submission of the full package of application documents. Second category is control costs related to the last progress report and application for reimbursement. It means the costs that are incurred, let's say, in the last progress report and an application for reimbursement. The controller basically does the control of these costs after the end of the project, which means that the costs are incurred after the end of the project, but this expenditure can still be claimed, and expenditure incurred in the last reporting period, which can be paid up to 60 days after the project end. Eligibility of expenditure by budget line. I think this is also very important, especially now when you are in the process of project creation, when you are making the budgets for the project. These are the categories, the 6 categories that are relevant for you. So these are the 6 budget lines within the Danube Transnational Program. So staff costs, office and administrative expenditure, travel and accommodation costs, external expertise and service costs, equipment expenditure, and infrastructure and works. So these are all costs have to be budgeted under these 6 categories. All expenditure later will be claimed under these 6 categories, let's say with the exception of the preparation costs. So let's go into detail into each of these budget categories. So first we have staff costs, which are staff costs. These are the costs of people who are working on the project, like project coordinator, project manager, like financial manager, communication manager of the project, and tasks that are maybe related to the project content, people who are actually dealing with the content-related issues, not the management, let's say, of the project issues. So what? These are these costs. What does it include? It includes salary payments and any other costs directly linked to the salary payments incurred and paid by the employer, such as employment taxes and social security. Methods of reimbursement. So talk was before about simplification. So we, at the program level and at the EU level, some new developments have happened regarding the simplification of certain things, in this case related to the expenditure. So let's say staff costs can be claimed on the real cost basis, means based on the person who is working for an institution, receives a salary, has an exact amount of salary, and that this is incurred and later paid by the employer, and that is later claimed by the project. And as a flat rate, up to 20% of direct costs. Flat rate meaning that documentary evidence in this case is non-existent or very, very, very small. So there is no need to provide pay slips. There is no need to provide any kind of evidence related to these costs. except, of course, the direct costs and the sum of them. So, in real cost category, we have, let's say, two possible methods when you are allocating a person full-time or part-time on the project. And in case of part-time, there are different also categories and methods of calculation of these costs. Again, staff costs has a quite extensive role in the applicant's manual, so I would also recommend going through it because there are a lot of additional points that are stated there that are important. Office and administration expenditure. Again, the buzzword is simplification, so here it is. This is the simplification, let's say, of the program level. Flat rate basis of 15% of the eligible staff costs of the project. It means that you calculate based on the staff costs. You don't have to provide any kind of documentary evidence for the overheads. It's mandatory actually to apply it at the project level and at the partner level. So there is 15% rate of staff costs. So this is for administration, office and administration expenditure. Of course, once you claim it here, you cannot claim it elsewhere. So you're claiming it within this 15%, you're claiming all the office and administrative expenditure for which you're not providing any evidence. But again, you cannot claim these type of costs, which are stated here, under any other budget category when you're reporting. So when you're budgeting now, you shouldn't budget office rent into some other category. It's already calculated as part of 15% of staff costs. So again, what is in this category? Office rent, insurance and taxes, utilities, office supplies, archives, general accounting, maintenance, security, IT systems, communication. So all these categories that are stated here cannot be found in other budget lines and budget categories. Then travel and accommodation costs. It's also a budget category within the Danube Transnational Program. And eligible expenditure includes, as stated, travel costs, costs of meals, accommodation costs, visa costs, and daily allowances. This is the list. This is exhaustive list. It means everything is stated here. Again, in the applicant's manual, you have additional points for all of these items, and I recommend reading them. Costs for flight carbon offsetting are eligible in case an employee of a project partner is flying and claims, and there are costs for actually charged costs for the flight carbon offsetting. It is eligible this is somehow, I think, important because it shows also the green face of the program in this case, which is important. Also, outside from this financial side, I would say, not only in the priority side and the content part. External expertise and services costs, so budget category number 4. These are the expenditure that can be claimed under this budget line. So we have studies or surveys, training, translations, IT systems, promotion, financial management, service-related organization and implementation of events or meetings, participation in events, registration fees, for example, legal consultancy and notarial services. The list is quite long and it goes on. So this is just a consequence of a fact that a lot of different things can be financed by the program and the project. So intellectual property rights, verifications, provision of guarantees by a bank or other financial institution, travel and accommodation for external experts, and other specific expertise. So it's very hard also to foresee all the expertise that might be necessary within a project. Equipment expenditure, budget category number 5. So what is eligible here? Purchase, rent or lease of equipment. What is maybe new in this period is that at the EU level there is delegated act on eligibility of expenditure. Within this delegated act on eligibility of expenditure, within all the budget lines, basically the type of costs that are part of these budget lines is already set to more or less, to a more or less degree. So what comes under equipment expenditure? Office equipment, IT hardware and software, furniture and fittings, laboratory equipment, machines and instruments, tools or devices, vehicles or other specific equipment. And finally, infrastructure and works. So as I was mentioning, the Delegated Act, it talks about 5 categories of expenditure. This is additional category introduced by the program. So infrastructure and works, because at the program level, we thought that the 5 budget categories are not enough, that some costs do not fit into these that might be necessary for project partners in the implementation. So we have, within this category, only small-scale infrastructure is eligible. Transnational impact has to be demonstrated, and it has to be approved in the application port, so it has to be described there. What does it include? Execution, and both design and execution of works. As you can see, when I was mentioning other budget lines, I didn't mention these kind of type of costs. So design, execution of works, it doesn't actually fit into the other budget lines. And special eligibility rules. As I said, I was talking about preparation costs. It is being decided the amount of the lump sum to be set at the program level. So I would advise keep being updated on the project level documents and checking, and also it will be relevant. It won't be relevant at this point, the amount for the first step, but it will be relevant for the second step, where you will have to include it. And expenditure of the associated strategic partners. Simona was already talking about it before. So basically this is including the partners without their separate budget and only travel and accommodation budget line. Procurement procedure, very important, respecting the procurement procedures. There are 2 types of rules at this point for ERDF partners and IPA partners. For ERDF partners, it's EU and national public procurement rules and the program-specific rules. And for IPA partners, it's Prague procurement rules in line with the financial regulation. So there are, depending whether it's partner is from a member country or a non-member country, different rules have to be applied. And eligibility of further issues, as I said, I'm going to touch on a few more items. One is state aid rules. At the program level, we are applying the minimus rule. It means that the aid state can be granted under the minimus rule up to, let's say, up to 200,000. Like if the aid wasn't improved, not more than 200,000 in the last 3 fiscal years. But I would also advise reading the state aid section of the applicant's manual, where you have more information on state aid, and more information will be later on provided. The use of euro, reporting and budgeting is done in euro. Exchange rate is set at the program level, which will be the one in which the expenditure are reported to the controller. And revenues, basically revenues cannot be claimed, they have to be deducted. They're generated either during the project or 3 years after the implementation, but also there are more requirements in the applicant's manual, so I would advise going through them. And that is it. Thank you for your attention. This was a brief presentation of the financial management framework within the Danube Transnational Program. And in case you have any question, as Simona said, you can ask us at the end of the final part, which is going to be presented by my dear colleague, Johannes Gabriel. He's going to be talking about supporting tools and bodies. Johannes is project officer for Priority 4.
Well, hello everybody. Well, Nico, your presentation was not that brief actually, but from Nico's presentation you already get the level of detail. He's checking progress reports, so lucky the projects to which Nico is not allocated. If it comes to project assessment and selection, then the experience we made in the cooperation area here, but also from other programs, that there's always a bunch of projects which are good, but not good enough to be
transferred to the second step or to be funded finally. Just a little bit is missing. And you might say, okay, it's normal, this is life. But one can say it as, or see it also approach it from a different angle. One can say it's a pity because among those projects, a lot of projects are actually have a big potential, are valuable projects, are very relevant, are very innovative, have a good core partnership, and they have just some few shortcomings which could have been avoided, for example, by getting in touch with the national contact point on time, by giving a phone call to the JTS or to the JS, by consulting the web-based partner search platform, or by reading a certain section of a document more carefully. And this is why we decided to include that presentation today on the first day of that conference. It's about supporting tools and bodies. Actually, there are a wide range of different supporting tools and services. And the core message of my presentation is don't miss any of those services. Use all. It can really make the difference. Now, I grouped the different points around 3 key elements: documents, supporting bodies, consultation and events, and web-based tools. Concerning the documents, there are one package of documents we call program main documents. There's a different place on the website for them, but I want to focus on a different package of documents. It's called application pack. From the name it gets clear. Those are those documents you need as project applicant to submit a successful project application. Very briefly, the cooperation program, of course, it's the fundament of the program. Everything stands on this, the project requirements, the implementation of projects, also the implementation of the whole program, everything stands on the cooperation program. The cooperation program comprises 9 chapters all over. The biggest one is the chapter 2, containing the thematic concentration, the thematic information on our portfolio, meaning the description of the 10 specific objectives, the outlining of the objectives itself, the results, indicators, and so on. Now, by opening a cooperation program from applicant's point of view, and it's quite normal, you might open it and you are interested in innovation, so you jump immediately, you look for the part of innovation, you jump into it. And although that chapter 2 has 80 pages, something like this overall, but broken down to 10 specific objectives. For one specific objective, that's only 10 pages. And what you should avoid is that by having a 170 pages document, in the end you use only 10 pages out of it. The cooperation program offers more. In particular, the first section, the first chapter is recommended to have a look. It's there outlined the role and the mission of the program, which is not a mistake to recall it from time to time. But then there's also information on the policy background, rather general, straightforward, easy digestible. And then there's a very nice part on the territorial characteristics of the Danube area, which is fueled basically by the outcomes of the territorial analysis, and it is there where you learn more about the territorial needs and potentials we found out during the programming process, and it's a recommendation from my side to go back to that section. Again, it's rather short and straightforward. but it helps you to bind back to relate back your projects closer to real needs of the territory. The other sections of the cooperation program are rather technical, chapter 3 to 9, and regard more the implementation issues. Then we have the call announcement, which is a very small paper published today, containing basically the information, very technical information on the one specific call, the deadline, how to submit it, and so on. We have the applicant's manual. Most of the content of the applicant's manual was already presented by my colleagues Simona and Nico. The general character of the applicant's manual is that I would say it's the second important document beside the cooperation program, and both documents should lay as printout on the desk of each project developer. However, the difference of the applicant's manual is that it's not thematic. It has no thematic content, so that it's really targeting requirements which are non-topic related and which are applicable to all projects. And although most was told, I want to highlight one point. So apart from eligibility aspects and so on, as Simona said, it's also one part of the applicant's manual is concerning the assessment. You outlined it a little bit. Actually, you will find in that part the assessment questions which will be posed to your projects during the assessment. So the very questions. So with the help of that assessment chapter in the applicant's manual, you will be basically able to self-assess your project, and it's recommended to do that. Your assessment you do on your project might be a bit different than the one which is finally done by the program bodies, but for sure it will give you indication where you stand with your project. So plan some time for it. Then we have the expression of interest, EOI, which is basically the application form, but in a reduced form. I don't have to explain it. Basically, it's your product, it's what you submit in the end. However, it fits quite well here under the point supporting tools, because also the expression of interest has some, let's say, supporting elements, which so far we did not have. There are, for example, some interlinked drop-down menus, which avoid by that automatic interlinkages that you might commit a mistake by chance. And in general, I dare to say that if you go through the applicant's manual and a lot of information offered there, if you go through that information on an abstract level, you might perhaps be a bit challenged and frightened in the first glance at least. But if you then put the information in the expression of interest, which is a very well structured, light, straightforward document, then the questions you had before might disappear. Finally, we have the guidance for EOI, which again, it's a very light and helpful and user-friendly document, which is basically the tool which helps you to fill your information around your project into the expression of interest. The second element are supporting bodies and the consultations you can have with them and the events which are organized. Here we have two kinds, national contact points and the joint secretariat. Actually, there are further program bodies, but the two with the explicit service function and service mandate are those two. And we have the national contact points, which of course their function is to provide information around the program on the spot and the national language. They might be the first you address, and after it you address the JS. So they are those which give you first support and guidance, and there, of course, especially regarding national requirements such as co-financing, for example. and they might support you also in partner search. The national contact points among themselves, they are interlinked. They are linked with the JS, so whenever you are looking for a specific partner, you are advised to address your national contact point. And national contact points are also organizing different kinds of information events. Actually, if I go later on to the website, there's a list. You will be provided with a list of the upcoming national info days in the next weeks. Info days targeted at that first step of the first call of the Duna program. The second body is the Joint Secretariat. It's us. We, of course, provide whatever information, but on program level in English language. We, apart from that, organize events not only like the one today, but we also organize specific lead applicant seminars. Those are seminars for the projects and the lead applicants of the project selected for the second step. And apart from that, we organize specific or thematic seminars, workshops, for example, if it comes to a strategic call or to any other occasion. And last but not least, we offer individual project consultations. Here, how it goes. The project consultations are targeted at advanced projects mainly. Let's say if you are at a very early stage or you wanted to apply for the program at all or not, then you are rather advised to clarify this with the national contact point. If you already targeted a specific objectives and you already did some steps ahead, then we might come into picture. Then you can request a consultation from us. The consultation will cover all main aspects of a project, partnership, content, work plan. It can be requested only once. We expect hundreds of project applications, so if we would go in a second and a third round, it's not possible simply by capacities. You are recommended to address us by email, including a project outline. We developed a template for that. You will find it on the website. I will show you where. And you are also recommended to highlight in the email with which you submit that template, to put 3-4 questions, concrete questions, because the more concrete your questions are, the more targeted our feedback will be, and the better, the more useful our feedback will be for you. With this, I come to the last point, to the website. The website is a one-stop shop for all information around the program, general information, documents, special section for a certain call or for calls in case they are run in parallel, contact details, partner search platform, it's called Project Ideas, the label, news and events, and up-to-date information, and we try to interlink and encourage stakeholders to get in touch with each other through social media. Let's have a look at just some views to give you a feeling how it looks. This is our main page. At the left section about DTP, the information you would expect there. In the lower part, there's a link to the EU strategy. Under the section calls, you will find then the under section first call. It's looking like this. Here you will find the documents I already mentioned, that application pack, the cooperation program, the applicant's manual. The applicant's manual you can download by chapter. Under this section you will find also that partner search platform, project ideas. There are two ways to use it, or you search for for a certain project idea. This would be this view, so you can go by priority or country. A project idea will pop up with the stakeholder who submitted it, so you can interlink yourself with that project idea and the generating institution. Or you can submit your own project idea, and if you scroll down that side, you will find that bottom new, so you go on it, and there you have all the fields to fill in the data on your institution, as well as then to give the details on the content of your project. Last but not least, I mentioned already the individual project consultation. Here we have also added recently a description of the, let's say, procedure to request the consultation with the link to the template. We call it concept note. So please always, if you address us, if you request a consultation with us, please always use that very concept note. Don't send us a filled expression of interest. We will not consider it because we cannot consider it, because also we don't have a mandate to make our entire pre-assessment, also for capacity reasons. Don't send us another format with 30 pages. Please stick to that template, and a further recommendation would be not to address us too late, because it makes also for you, it makes simply no sense if you address us with a request 2 or 3 days before the closure of the call, because you will not have time to include the recommendations we give you into your project. Moving further on the website, here we have the section for the documents, and you see here the program main documents, again the cooperation program, then the structural funds regulations, the documents Vincent talked about this morning, and others. We have a section news and events, and here if you go under program news and events, you will see the national info days, and out of that list I think one is already over, the one in Landshut, and the rest are upcoming, so please inform yourself about those events. It's highly recommended to go to those events, by the way. And last but not least, the contents section. Very soon we will display the information on the national coordination and contact points. It's not yet there, it's a question of days. And we have, of course, also here you will find the information in case you have in mind to contact us to request a consultation, or for any other request which might be, let's say, related to your topic. Here you find for each JS member a short bio indicating also the function. Here you will see, for example, that I'm the project officer dealing with priority area 4, well-governed Danube region. And this is also the time to present my other colleagues to you, which are not yet present here on the scene. And let me start by order of priority. Please, Marius, come to the scene, or at least show your face. This is my colleague Marius Nicolai. He's the project officer for innovation. Specific objective 1.1, 1.2. The project officer for priority axis 2 is Gustav Chomor. He is covering a specific objective 2.1, not 2.2, but 2.1, 2.3, and 2.4, because 2.2 is covered by my colleague Simona. And the project officer for priority axis 3 is Anna Leganel. Hi to Anna. And with that's it. again, the message, there are a lot of different supporting tools and services. Use them all. It really can make the difference. Thank you.
If you have questions to the JS, please, you can start to ask them now. We try to answer as much as we can. Don't forget that tomorrow we're going to be in workshops where the information will be more detailed. So if you have questions, please be free to ask.
Hello everybody, my name is Natasha Dobrinic, RGA Communications from Zagreb. I have a question related to the state aid. So I would ask if somebody could elaborate the state aid issue, which primarily is a potential problem for small and medium enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you. We can collect a few questions, so if you have more questions, please raise your hand. You ask the question, and then when we collect a number, we can start to answer.
Okay. My name is Erika Sendrak. I am from the Research Center for Natural Sciences and for the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. And I have a question on budgetary framework. First of all, thank you for the very comprehensive presentation from Mr. Finka. Three specific points related to equipment and infrastructure. One is if the cost which can be budgeted is based on purchase cost or is still depreciation time related. The second one is if public procurement is obligatory for equipment, then it is still eligible like in other EU programs. And the third one is, as I understand, flat rate is calculated on staff cost, then operation cost of equipment and infrastructure can be covered on one or other cost category you mentioned. So.
We have problem hearing very well here on the stage. So I think that you should repose the third question.
Possible to cover the operational cost of the equipment which was purchased from the budget. What I mean, consumables, electricity, etc., which is related to equipment. Sometimes it's quite a bigger proportion of the so-called traditional indirect cost or overhead cost. That was the third one.
Hello everybody. I have more global questions. Two, I will relate only on two of them. Tomorrow I will get more detailed, I hope. First, do you have any information what is the efficiency of all the projects realized under the 7th Framework Program, the trans-border programs till this moment? We have discussed this with colleagues from other countries, I don't mention which, that about 80% of the projects which have been realized till now in the frame of 2007-2013 period are not existing anymore and they are not efficient. They are out of order. Why? Maybe because of lack of support from the local government, national government. The European Commission has no tool to support the synergy and the follow-up of this project. I don't know. I just ask. The second question is, you're speaking about integration, but always you're telling that each project has to be related only to one priority. Why you are not giving the possibility for flagship projects which can integrate more priorities under such, how to say, more powerful projects? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is George Tabakov from Bulgaria Economic Forum. My question is not so strategic. It's about what kind of partnership can we make between the first and the second phase. It's understandable that the leading partner cannot be changed, but can we add more partners after the submission of the initial idea, or can we extract some of the partners, or change them, alter them? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have two questions. I'm Barbara Chieri from Via Donau. The first question is, do you have some kind of guideline on how many projects are you planning to accept in the first goal? And the second one is, what do you think, or how should we balance the proposed budget between the countries in terms of cost and involvement in the project, considering the differences between the national wages?
Sorry, from this side, it's very difficult to hear, unfortunately. I know that most likely you are hearing us perfectly, but here we cannot hear you quite clearly. So if you can repeat the last question, please.
Yes, so the question is that we heard it earlier that a request from your side is to balance the budget between partners in terms of costs also. And how do you propose we should do it based on the differences between the national wages? Could you hear it now? No?
I'm sorry. It's really difficult here.
So based on the differences between the national wages, the salaries,
okay.
I mean.
We have a question coming from Twitter, so we're giving the floor to my colleague.
Yes, according to European Wilderness profile of Twitter, he or she is asking, will voluntary offsetting on carbon emission on flight be eligible, or only cost issued by the airlines automatically?
I think we have our last question there. Yes.
All right. Hello. I'm Martin Petruszewski from the Regional Environmental Center. We have 17 country offices, and I'm interested whether there is any limit on the applications submitted for this program, and also would it be possible to have two entities take part in the application? For example, the head office in Hungary, could it go together with the country office of Serbia in one application?
Thank you. So we start to answer based on the order of the questions, and I will ask my colleague Nico to provide.
Okay. So the question regarding the state aid, well, I didn't provide much information about state aid during my presentation. However, I can. Information is already stated, some of it in the applicant's manual, but I can give some more information basically. The program is going to give, according to the de minimis aid, which basically will be applicable only for ERDF countries where state aid will not be granted to the non-EU country partners. The minimis aid means basically that the state aid can be given up to 200,000 if the partner has not received the amount in the last 3 fiscal years for that amount. So basically you cannot grant more than 200,000 euros in the last 3 fiscal years. For some sectors it's less. Let's say for transport sector it's 100,000. So at the EU level there were these kind of like, let's say, two frameworks for dealing with state aid, which is general block exemption regulation and de minimis. On the program level, therefore, we are applying de minimis. It means that state aid for ERDF partners can be financed. So we will ask in the second phase, we are going to ask the partners to provide more information about state aid related activities. So it will be, let's say, clear, let's say, in the second stage, which information the partner itself has to provide. And then, of course, the assessment will be done of the activities. I don't know whether this answers or you have something more specific in mind. Yeah?
About the capitalization, about the questions related to the results of the previous projects or projects that have ended, we actually have the experience that in the previous programming period we had projects that had one follow-up and they are still considering to apply in the Duna program and to make use of the results. In this respect, at program level, we will have also a capitalization strategy where we will try to integrate the results and to create synergies between projects in order to make sure that after the finalization of a project, things don't stop there and everything is put on a shelf. A project is mandatory to apply on one specific objective, but this does not exclude the fact that the project contributes to other specific objectives also, but its main activities are addressing one single specific objectives. The other are just cross-sectorial. Regarding the questions on how many partners can be replaced between the two steps, we have at program level the rule that up to 10 partners, if a partnership has up to 10 partners, then maximum 2 partners can be replaced, withdraw or added. If we have up to from 11 to 15 partners, then we have maximum 3 partners to be replaced, to withdraw or to be added, and more than 15 partners we are allowing maximum 4. It was the question, if I understood correctly, how to balance the budget of the partners, taking into consideration the difference between the salaries of the countries. A balanced budget of a project does not necessarily mean that the salaries are equal and everything is equal in a project. The budget has to be built based on the activities and taking into consideration the specific rules of each country and the specific limits of salaries in each country. This is my answer in this. We have no limit for one partner to participate in several projects, but the partner has to have the capacity and the resources, human and financial resources, to implement several projects, especially if they are considering to apply as lead partner, which is they have to pre-finance several projects until the reimbursement. And if there are 2 offices, one in Budapest and one in Serbia, they can apply in the same project if they have legal personality, because they are to be considered 2 different institutions.
And if I can answer to the question related to how many projects we are planning to approve in the first call, we don't know. The only limit that we have is the budget. We don't know how many projects will be submitted, and obviously we don't know if those projects are going to deserve to be approved. So definitely we also have to see what is the budget that these good projects are having, because you can imagine that if there is a bunch of projects with an average budget of 2 million, most likely we can approve more, but if there are projects which have bigger budgets, obviously the budget can be reduced quite fast. So we have no answer for that. And then to answer the question on the carbon offsetting that was posed through Twitter, we are definitely including the cost of carbon offsetting, which is automatically done by the airline, or there is also the possibility they can go to a travel agency, and the travel agency is issuing one invoice where this is going to be calculated as well. At this stage, the carbon service providers are not providing with an invoice which is as detailed as the one that we would like to have, because there are no direct connection to the activity. So because of that, we are still, we will not accept an invoice coming directly with the service providers, because this information will be missing. But then again, just by going to a travel agency, this problem can be overcome. I think we answered all the questions. Or no, we didn't.
Okay, so the question, let me start with the broaden a bit the question, in a sense that there are 5 budget categories that are set into the Delegated Act on Eligibility of Expenditure, which is, let's say, on EU level. So these are the 5 budget categories that are as they are. They cannot be changed. So we cannot influence what's there, it's stated there. So for example, you were mentioning the infrastructure. Infrastructure is something that's introduced by the program as the 6 budget categories. But within the other 5 categories, we cannot change anything. It means that the costs that are stated there are there. So it means that under infrastructure and works, you cannot include expenditure that is already claimed on the other, or it is stated under these other budget lines. So basically, this is maybe this is how it is. So on the EU level, like I said, there are like 3 levels of rules. On the EU level rules, this is set. So this delegated act on eligibility expenditure states 5 categories, and costs have to be classified according to these budget categories. So you cannot, something that's infrastructure, even though different types of costs might be considered in some circumstances, they should be claimed under overheads, for example, if they are stated under the overheads budget category. Okay. You also had a different, but I couldn't hear you for the first time when you were listening, so I cannot now answer. So I remember, I know this last part, but can you repeat the first part?
Okay, the question was related to equipment, purchase of equipment, and whether or not the cost of equipment is based on a purchase cost or it's linked to depreciation type. And the second one is I'm working quite a lot with other EU programs, and when now it's eligible to claim if the purchase of equipment require obligatory public procurement. So the cost specifically linked to the specific equipment of public procurement can be also included here. So I know it's quite specific, but for example in Hungary this could be quite a significant amount.
Okay, but which costs are you specifically referring to in this second?
If the purchase of equipment linked to an obligatory public procurement. Okay. So, and it has a specific cost, can be claimed if this public procurement happens during the project lifetime.
But you want to claim public procurement costs for the equipment?
Yes.
Yeah, I think in general, yes, it's eligible because it's project-related kind of activity. Yes. So. Okay. And regarding the full purchase cost, in general, project is paying for depreciation. So as a general rule, it is the depreciation. So we are covering for the time the equipment is used for the project.
Yes.
Full purchase price can be claimed in case...
The two is overlapping.
Not only if 2 is overlapping, but if you have like a small purchase price and it's written off like in the first year, then in general you can claim the full amount. In general program level, depreciation is somehow set as a standard. Yeah.
Thank you. In any case, we are going to have a dinner later on. We will be in the dinner, so you can grab us and ask your questions there. We will be available to answer. And I will give the floor now to my colleague because he will have another announcement to make before the closure.
So thank you very much for this session. You received lots of information. I hope many of the open questions that we had in the morning has been clarified now, and probably more than the questions that you had in mind at the very beginning. We would like to conclude the day. I will announce you something at the very end, but before that, I would like to give the floor again to the head of the managing authority of the Danube Transnational Program, Imre Chalakovic, to give you a final words.
Just for conclusion, I would like to be very, very short because all of you were here the whole day, and we have seen, we have understood the Commission approach about the regulatory framework, result orientation, which is a new feature of the programs, and all of you should take into account also in the future. We had, from our side, we have tried to understand all the rules inside of the region. To give you an overview about the history of the technical cooperation of the space, and first we give you a general overview, and then later on more detailed information on the program and about the first call. So altogether we had a number of questions. Hopefully we could give you answer, but still there are a lot of opportunity to discuss the issues further. First of all, as I already mentioned, there are national info days are to be organized in several countries where you can get direct information, not only about the overall program level issues, but also on specific national issues like co-financing and so on. You have the contact points in each country, which they can give you the first feedback on your project ideas, and if you have more developed ideas, you can also, in some way, you can turn to Secretariat as well in order to have further information. And the second part of the conclusion is the fact is that, first of all, after 1.5 year discussions between the 14 partner states, the partner states decided about the priorities and the specific objectives of the program and further rules. All the governments approved officially the program, and then it was concluded and officially approved by the Commission in August of this year. So the program is approved and it is ready, and this is the event where we are announcing it. And then also coming from this fact that we are ready to open the first call. The first call documents are on the home page, and then you can start to develop the projects, and we hope you, for those who are developing projects, as much as possible to give you support in the future in order to have really good, effective proposals. For those who are stakeholders, I would like to propose you or support you also in the future and propose you further discussions on how to develop the program further step by step, because this is just the first call, and then as we all program period, we are always looking for developments. So I think the whole program will develop call to call, and I really would like to, not only me, but I think all the colleagues would like to have a much more successful program as any program was before, which is not easy because some programs were pretty good also in the past. So, and then don't forget that tomorrow we will have 8 specific workshops along the specific objectives, which give you really the information about the content, and I think this is important to come there and discuss with my colleagues, with some external experts, and with other actors in order to find a way how to develop good projects. And I really would like to wish you success for the whole programming period. Then I will give you back the floor before I'm saying goodbye to my colleague. Just he will give you some technical information about the tomorrow event, and goodbye. Thank you for coming.
Just 3 final notices. The first one, you are all invited, as you know, to a cocktail reception tonight here in Vigado Theatre at 8 o'clock. It will last from 8 to 10, and then at 10 we need to leave because they need to arrange for the day after. So maybe you can continue afterwards somewhere else. But at 8 o'clock you are all invited. For tomorrow, as my colleague said, at 9 o'clock we will start 2 rounds of workshops. You register for maybe 1 or 2 workshops, so there will be 4 parallel workshops at 9 o'clock and 4 more workshops at 11:15. They will take place in the room where you have today the lunch and the coffee break, so this room, that room, and also in the 2nd floor, and the similar rooms in the 4th floor. So for the 4 different workshops, while the lunch and the coffee break will take place here in the plenary room. Anyhow, there will be signs, and you can ask the hostess where to go in case you are lost. You may change your workshop. You can do it if there are enough seats in each of the rooms. And finally, we will send you next week online through your email online evaluation survey about the event, and we invite you to fill in to know your feedback from this event, and like this we can improve something for future events at program level. And then again, thank you very much for your participation, for the people here physically, for those following us in web streaming, and I wish you lots of streams of cooperation together. And I wish you successful proposals in case you will submit some within the first call. Thank you very much.